everyone, my name is Zora, and with the live-action Sonic 4 being announced, today we're going to be looking at the Sonic movie timeline. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the timeline of Paramount's Sonic Cinematic Universe. The events that happened in the video games, books, and animated TV shows will not be featured in this timeline. There will be spoilers for those who haven't watched the Sonic movies. So first, watch the Sonic movies, then watch this video to avoid spoilers. For those who have watched the Sonic movies, stick around to find out what happened before the events of the Sonic trilogy. Our story begins way before the events of the first Sonic film, specifically during the war between the owls and the echidnas. The giant owls were bird-like aliens that lived on Sonic's home planet Mobius. They peacefully shared Mobius with the Echidna tribe. However, that changed one day when the Echidnas created the Master Emerald, an ancient artifact that can turn thoughts into reality. Believing nobody should have such power, the owls fought the Echidnas, stole the Master Emerald from them, and hid it on Earth. This started a multi-generational war between the two groups, with the Echidnas hunting down and killing the owls in an attempt to find the Master Emerald. This happened way before the events of the first Sonic film. At this point, Longclaw was the only giant owl left. She took care of a young Sonic, and the two of them lived in Mobius and hid away from any threat. That is, until the Echidna tribe learned of their existence and followed Sonic to their home. Longclaw sent Sonic to Earth to continue hiding. However, this would end badly for Longclaw, as she was attacked by the echidnas, which resulted in her death. 50 years before Sonic arrived in Green Hills, a meteor crashed in Oklahoma. The meteor contained a hedgehog named Shadow. When the black hedgehog fell to Earth, he was taken by gun and became part of a secret government experiment called Project Shadow, led by Dr. Ivor Robotnik's grandfather, Gerald Robotnik. When Gerald's granddaughter Maria visited the gun facility, she met Shadow and befriended him. However, the military, believing Shadow to be a dangerous threat, invaded Gerald's lab, which caused a massive explosion that killed Maria. Gerald was blamed for the incident and imprisoned. With the program cancelled, Shadow was a loose end no one knew how to deal with. However, since Shadow was too dangerous to be walking free, and too valuable to destroy, Commander Walters placed him in stasis. After arriving on Earth as a child, Sonic hid out in the woods before making himself at home in a secluded cave in Green Hills, Montana. However, Sonic started to feel lonely, so he ran around a baseball field, which caused a massive power outage. Thanks to the blackout, humans became more aware of Sonic's presence, especially a police officer named Tom Wachowski and a mad scientist with a mustache named Dr. Robotnik. Meanwhile, Knuckles was a child when the Echidna tribe found Longclaw, with him being aware of Sonic's existence. Longclaw eventually killed the rest of the Echidnas, including Knuckles' dad. This led Knuckles to become a great warrior, with him dedicating his life to searching the galaxy for Sonic, leading to the events of Sonic 2. After losing his rings, Sonic asks Tom to take him to San Francisco, with the United States government and Dr. Robotnik pursuing them. Robotnik manages to get one of Sonic's quills, which leads to a battle known as the San Francisco Incident. Sonic then banishes Robotnik to Mushroom Planet and gets adopted by Tom and his wife Maddie Wachowski in Green Hills. In Sonic 2, Sonic's quills attracts Knuckles to Mushroom Planet where he meets Robotnik. Knuckles works with the mad scientist, and the duo traveled to Earth in search of the Master Emerald and Sonic. Meanwhile, Tails arrives to Earth to tell Sonic about the Master Emerald, with them joining the hunt. Robotnik manages to find the Master Emerald and betrays Knuckles by using it to give him ultimate power. Knuckles then joins Sonic and Tails and helps them fight against Robotnik's giant robot. Thankfully, Sonic defeats Robotnik by turning into Super Sonic and destroying his robot. In the end, Tails and Knuckles decide to move in with Sonic and the Wachowskis. After the events of Sonic 2, Knuckles befriends another police officer named Wade Whipple and decides to train him to be the ultimate warrior. The duo then travel to Reno so that Wade can face off against his father in a bowling competition. Meanwhile, Knuckles has to face off against two gun agents and a group of criminals who are using Robotnik's technology and Team Sonic's quills for evil. 50 years later, in 2024, Shadow wakes up from his stasis and breaks out of prison, which leads to Gun recruiting Team Sonic so that the trio could help the Guardian Units of Nations apprehend the Black Hedgehog. Unfortunately, Shadow overpowers the trio and escapes, which leads to Team Sonic recruiting Robotnik so that they can find the Black Hedgehog. Unfortunately for them, Robotnik betrays the trio and teams up with his grandfather Gerald Robotnik and Shadow, all the while leaving Team Sonic to be consumed by a mini black hole. Eventually, Team Sonic manages to escape the black hole by using a ring. They then recruit Tom and Maddie and break into Gun headquarters to steal the second Eclipse Cannon key. Tom manages to steal the second Eclipse Cannon key from Director Rockwell by disguising himself as Commander Walters. After stealing the key, Shadow manages to break into Gun headquarters. Unfortunately for Tom, Shadow buys his disguise and attacks him by punching him in the chest, when Sonic finds Tom lying dead on the ground, he gets super furious and is full of revenge. He eventually abandons his two friends Tails and Knuckles, steals the Master Emerald, and absorbs the 7 Chaos Emeralds to turn into Super Sonic. Meanwhile, in space, Shadow powers up the Eclipse Cannon so that he can destroy the world. Unfortunately for him, Sonic breaks through the window of the Eclipse Cannon and confronts him. Unfortunately for Sonic, Shadow punches Sonic, which making the Chaos Emeralds fall out of him. The two hedgehogs then reach the 7 Chaos Emeralds. While Sonic is back in his Super Sonic form, Shadow also manages to absorb the 7 Chaos Emeralds and turns into Super Shadow. The two hedgehogs then fight to the death, with Sonic gaining the upper hand and eventually winning. The two then team up to stop the Eclipse Cannon from firing. After defeating a bunch of robots, Sonic and Shadow stop the Eclipse Cannon from reaching Earth, with Robotnik, Tails, and Knuckles steering the eclipse cannon away from Earth. They succeed, but they accidentally cut the moon in half. Sonic eventually falls down to Earth, but is saved by Tails and Knuckles. Meanwhile, in space, Shadow sacrifices himself to save Earth, and Robotnik does the same thing. But he records a message to Stone and apologizing to him and calls him his best friend. The film ends with Tom recovering and Sonic and Tails and Knuckles racing again for Rio. We do not know a lot about Sonic 4 since very few information has been released. What we do know is that characters like Amy, Rose, Metal Sonic, and Shadow, and possibly Shadow the Hedgehog, will appear in the fourth installment of the Sonic series. So, how do we know Amy, Rose, and Metal Sonic will appear in Sonic 4? Well, in the first post-credit scene for Sonic 3, Sonic overshoots the finish line, gets attacked by Metal Sonic, and gets saved by Amy Rose, confirming Amy Rose and Metal Sonic will appear in the fourth installment for the Sonic series. But how do we know Shadow will probably appear in Sonic 4? Well, in the second post-credit scene, we see Shadow picking up one of his emitter rings, meaning Shadow survived the Eclipse Cannon explosion and will probably appear in the fourth Sonic movie. However, this is the full Sonic movie timeline explanation. Yep, so that was the Sonic movie timeline, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.